Hello again. In the last video, part one of this series, I said that the second video, was going to be about paying attention to the sounds in the external world and the environment around us. And it turns out I was just wrong. Actually, the second video is going to continue from where we left off in the first one. If you haven't listened to the first one, no problem. This one can stand on its own. Or if you'd like, you can go back and catch that first one. Um, so maybe we'll call this one 1A or 1B, I suppose. In any case, this is what I am drawn to do. So I want to talk a little bit more from my teacher's perspectives, from my understanding, my offering to you, and also in an exercise to have us continue to deepen our relationship to our own personal relationship to silence and sound in an effort to begin to enliven that part of our body, to get our body, our being, to remember what it's like to listen. Because I promise you that most babies, when they come into this world, they come in with an absolute ability to listen. Now, it may not seem like that, but watch a baby. They're at some point beginning to really take in everything that's around them, and they're responding to such. As the more that we, the adult, can offer that space to them, the more that they will respond to it. There's something about this ability to listen and to be heard and to be seen that allows that connection, which is so essential to our very being. That connection begins to be built. I want to read to you first before I go off too philosophically, which you may be able to see I could easily do. I love this stuff, but I want to bring it back here to some quotes again from my teacher, Dudley Knight, in his book, Speaking with Skill. And he's talking about in here about how our bodies are set up to listen and how it is that we can encourage that. So, one quote: "The listener is fully open to silence, and the energy of listening comes from the attentiveness of every cell in the body." This is interesting, isn't it? He's talking about the cells having an attentiveness. Another one of my teachers, Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen, she says the brain is the last to know. Why do I bring that up? Because we oftentimes seek doing or solutions from the brain, but that is simply not the place that's going to be the most effective, the deepest understanding. It's not where we're going to find it. We're going to find it somewhere else, in the cells of the body. Now, how do you do that? Well, we've got to get rid of the tensions that are stopping us from being able to experience that depth that you and I have, and all we simply need is to be able to remember it. Again, Dudley Knight speaks on, so the ability to let go of residual tensions in the skeletal muscles becomes crucial in finding our way back to a fully sensitized, available body. A body that can listen. I have to emphasize that the process of becoming sensitized or available to stimuli or finding neutral in no way means that we are becoming passive or non-analytical. On the contrary, our sensory availability simply gives us more data to evaluate. So do this for me. I'm not going to be able to model because of the setup I have here, but do this for me. If you can, get some space where you can lie down on the ground. If you can't lie down on the ground, then it's fine to stand up and do this. But we're going to go through 4 contrasting movements of the neuromuscular system in an effort to get there to be some variety, some versatility, and so that we can find a little bit more ease, a little bit more flow, ultimately open up to listening. And we're also going to add an awareness of breath and sound into it. So do this with me. I hope you've been able to find that space, some space that you can lie down or stand. And the first thing I want you to do is what's called a scrunch. So you're going to bring every muscle in towards the midline. Every muscle scrunches in tight in towards the midline. The finger scrunch, the face scrunches, the back of the head scrunches, the shoulders scrunch, the belly, the buttocks, the thighs, the calves, the toes, the tongue. Everything scrunches in towards the midline, tiny. And notice what this does to your breath, and make a sound that feels like this scrunching, this really scrunch up tight until it doesn't feel any more pleasurable. And then you can simply begin to release that, simply let it go, and begin now to let the breath shift, and let's go the opposite direction. So the stretch begins to get long and wide. The fingers come wide, the toes go wide, the face goes wide. The tongue comes out and stretch into one side of the body and the next side of the body, like a kitty cat on Saturday morning. One leg stretches down, the next leg stretches down. Oh, feel what this does to your breath and make a sound that feels like the stretching. And then let that go. And again, the arms come down to the side. And now let's begin a shake. So begin a shake, which is a contract release. So shaking the spine and the shoulders, lift up the arms and shake the hands. Let the head shake, the pelvis shakes, the leg shakes, everything begins to shake. Feel what it does to your breath and make a sound. And really just feel that everything just shaking out, letting it go off of the fingers, off of the toes, until that becomes tiresome and it becomes time to simply let again a flop happen. If you're lying on the floor, completely yield into the floor, the support of the floor. If you're standing, completely yield all of those muscles that don't need to be holding you up. And let the sound now also be a flop. It's just a little fluffy sound. The slightest touch. And let that touch of sound begin to be a ripple. It signals a ripple through the body. Like a pebble being dropped in the middle of a lake. And can you feel that ripple of release expanding outwards? So that each touch of sound helps you release just a little bit more into the support being offered you. Just a little bit more. Perhaps you notice that the breath comes in more spontaneously, more easefully. See if you can step out of any need to control the way that the breath comes in and out, and simply trust your body to make the best choice right now. Now, whether you're lying down or standing up, I'd like for you to come to a seated position. And let's make a sound similar to the way that we did in the first video, but this time it's not going to be a hum. This time we're going to hold out one single vowel sound, and that vowel sound will be ah. Depending upon where you're listening to this around the world, you might make that sound a little bit different. And I'd like for it, in this particular case, to be made a specific way, if possible. If not, don't worry about it. But I'd like for you to feel that ah from the back of the tongue cupping down. It's that sound that the doctor has you make when they're checking your throat, right? That ah. They have you make that sound because when the back of the tongue comes down, then you can see the back of the throat a lot better. And so for this instance, we just want to get that sound. So the back of the tongue comes down, jaw will release. So let your eyes close or keep them open, but simply pointed down in front of you so you can really be focusing within. And let's make that sound. Ah. And can you, as you make the sound, can you feel the vibration of the sound inside your body? Let's go again. Ah. And let the in-breath come. Ah. And at the end of the sound, enjoy that space between, that silence between. In breath in. Ah. Breath in. Ah. And let yourself come to silence. Invitation to keep your eyes closed. If we can listen out of an alive, sensitized, personal silence, there is a lot in the world worth hearing. If we can then feel our own sounds moving through our bodies with the same alert availability, we can feel subtle changes in vocal sound and action. This is where our journey from silence into vocal sound, the assertion of our humanity, needs to begin. Let yourself sit with these words and have them soak in this state you're in now. Let the cells drink them in. Don't seek the meaning with the mind. Let your fingers and toes begin to wiggle and stretch. And begin to stretch long and wide. Face goes wide, tongue comes out. Come up to a seated position. And I'd like to read that quote to you I just read. This is again from the same book. I want to give credit where credit is due. But I want to read it again to you now, and just to let you hear it one more time in this state. If we can listen out of an alive, sensitized personal silence, there is a lot in the world worth hearing. If we can then feel our own sounds moving through our bodies with the same alert availability, we can feel subtle changes in vocal sound and action. This is where our journey from silence into vocal sound, the assertion of our humanity, needs to begin. I'm curious what that was like for you. I would love for you to leave a comment if you would. And part 3, or I guess we decided it's part 2, didn't we? Part 2 or part 3, as you wish, will absolutely begin to have us seek sound and our relationship to it from our environment, from our surroundings. All right, thank you so much, and I hope to see you real soon.